Bletchley Park is located in south-central England, just a bit northwest of London, perhaps an hour's drive, in the community of Milton Keynes. The campus of the museum is surrounded by the housing neighborhood, and it's a sizable campus with many of the old huts and the old mansion and its grounds. This is a 3D map of the Bletchley Park estate and grounds. To the left is the lake, some wooded area, and the Bletchley Park mansion. And then to the right and center are all the so-called huts, which are the buildings that remain where the code-breaking effort took place. The mansion was used somewhat as a headquarters and office for the top people running the operation, but head code breakers such as Alan Turing and Gordon Welchman and others had their offices in the huts themselves. These days, due to popular media, movies, books, and so on, everybody seems to be aware of the Enigma cipher that was used during World War II and its association with Alan Turing and others. But, of course, there were other ciphers in use, such as the Lorenz and others, and those were also broken and dealt with at Bletchley Park. This is a photo of one of the 3-rotor Enigma machines, which is housed at the museum.
Hey, where's the X? A little nip in the air. Oh, wrong side of the woods.
Hey, want to come in again? Come in.
Here's an old guard gatehouse and a typical hut, and some of the surrounding buildings that were probably from the era of the mansion. More huts, even more huts in a different style, And there's a model of a submarine. And this is walking up from the main campus up past some other huts, these ones of brick, heading up towards the National Computing History Museum, or National Museum of Computing, as it's called. This is one of the huts used by the Computing Museum. And here's the parking area just outside the entrance, but you're not supposed to park there. You're supposed to park in the main lot. And here's the main entrance. The first gallery in the museum is the Small Systems and Personal Computers Museum. Here's a PDP-8, and then a bunch of the early ones such as the Altair, the Commodore PET, the Apple, and so on. About 2 years before this visit to the museum, I had donated a reproduction of a Cosmac ELF computer that I built. I have a separate video on YouTube about building this computer, and I also demonstrate it, but I was pretty pleased and gratified to see that they had a nice little sign there acknowledging my donation. On the left are various Apple and Commodore computers and some other models on the lower shelf. And there's a Timex Sinclair in there, and several other models I'm not actually familiar with. Here's an early IBM PC. They had a nice picture of Hedy Lamarr there and a brief mention of her contribution to computing. Some of the early portable computers. There's a SX64 from Commodore. There's, Osborne and so on. Some early notebook or laptop computers, rather. Additional luggables and portables. And then some of the handheld computers of various models. Epson. This is the Sharp model, also sold by Radio Shack. Hewlett-Packard and others. And some of these are actually glorified PDAs that can be connected to small keyboards. And then there's some more personal computers that are used for game playing. This is the bomb gallery devoted to the Enigma code breaking specifically, and it shows lots of different bits of apparatus associated with that. And then we eventually get to the bomb itself and some pieces of it. And here's the reproduction bomb that they have working in here. Now, the bomb wasn't a computer. It was simply a device that crunched through a lot of combinations of codes until things started possibly making sense. Because the code-breaking effort relied on cribs, it relied on intuition and mathematical formulas devised by the code breakers, and even with that, there were still many possibilities to work through, and the bomb would work through those that had been whittled down by the other techniques. You can get a good view in this gallery of the front and the rear of the bomb and much of its workings. I thought one of the major travesties of the otherwise entertaining movie The Imitation Game was that they seemed to show Alan Turing developing the bomb and only later on getting to something closer to a computer. My understanding from my reading of the history is that the bomb was originally a design from Polish code breakers before the war, and that the design that was popular at Bletchley Park was largely the work of Gordon Welchman. I don't know if Alan Turing really had that much to do with the design of it, but he was certainly critically important in working out the front-end code and the use of cribs and so on to whittle down the code possibilities to something that the bomb could then work on.
Did you have to push a button to make that work? Push it again.
Doorbell button.
This is the calculator gallery. It's actually more in a hallway. It shows many different electromechanical, electronic, and purely mechanical calculating devices through history. This machine is called Heath Robinson. It was an early effort to use electronics in the breaking of the Lorenz code, which was another code or another cipher used by the Germans in the war besides the Enigma. It was called Heath Robinson by the Wrens who operated it because it resembled in their minds the outrageously complicated machines drawn by cartoonist Heath Robinson. This is the slide rule gallery located in a hallway between the Heath Robinson Gallery and the Colossus Gallery. This is the Colossus Gallery, where the museum has painstakingly recreated a Colossus Model 2 computer, which is regarded as the world's first programmable electronic digital computer. It was used to break the Lorenz code. It was not apparently used in the Enigma. It was too late for that. But it's still a remarkable machine. A lot of vacuum tubes and some electromechanical parts as well. This object is a so-called drum store. It's a form of magnetic drum that was used by early computers to store programs and data, and it was pioneered in the United Kingdom by Andrew Booth in 1946. A metal cylinder is typically coated with some sort of magnetic oxide, much as would be used on magnetic tape, and at least one pickup head is positioned very close to the spinning cylinder. The same pickup head can read and write data to the drum. Most drum memories had fixed heads, one head per track, although some were built with heads that could move from track to track. Most early British computers used drum memory. A typical drum memory might have 16 heads with 16 blocks for a total capacity of around 82 kilobytes. Difficulty in making and maintaining magnetic drum memories and their limited capacity meant that they were soon replaced by moving head magnetic disk drives. This is the Edsac, or Electronic Delay Storage Automatic Calculator, a very early stored program computer. This machine is the Wolverhampton Instrument for Teaching Computing from Harwell, otherwise known as the Witch, W-I-T-C-H, or as the Harwell Decatron computer, named after the Decatron tubes, which is a type of counting vacuum tube. This machine dates from the 1950s, and it was designed and used to teach students about computing. It was actually used until around 1973 when it was decommissioned. It was subsequently restored by this museum and is now considered to be the world's oldest working digital computer.
You can see their dates from that time, apart from the this was built to design nuclear power station. No mistake on multiplication. And this goes, so when we know that, it's going to get set to 0. There it goes, alternate. If we take the answer from down there and store it, the answer is 0, 0, 4, 6, 5, 6. The big advantage is you can read the memory and you can check the program book. If you design a nuclear power station, you really want to know that you don't want to run the program that doesn't work if you do something like that. Yeah, we're going to touch the this.
The Witch, as displayed, is always running this squares program as listed on this monitor. The museum has a couple other galleries depicting various vintages of old computers, much newer than the rest of the big computers, but still relatively vintage by today's standards. I didn't take much video or pictures of this area because the museum was closing soon and I was simply running out of time.